Um, we want to discuss something very interesting today. This is related to our kids who are doing digital study, who are at home, and they are still joining schools. Uh, and what is the impact on their personality? So before we start our discussion today, let me welcome my friend from London, Mr. Naval Gund.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, it's a really important issue about our kids, really. And I don't know about you, but we've had an increasing level of lockdown over the last 4 or 5 weeks. We're now operating a 3-tier system. So we're still in the COVID arena. And the most disruptive tier is the 3rd tier, which effectively means everyone stays at home. And you move progressively down to the 2nd tier and the 1st tier, where the restrictions are not as severe. However, unlike a complete lockdown, one element that's really fascinating about this particular time of development, and we all know about the disruption to education in the past, is that schools will stay open. And there's a really important reason for that, because it's recognizing that young people need other young people, not digitally, but physically, to help them grow, to develop their personality, their soft skills, and their academic learning. And that's been a really important change to the initial elements of lockdown as to today. And indeed, we've seen it in France, where France is now going into a complete lockdown period, with the exception of schools. Schools will remain open, and Germany as well. So everyone is coming to this dramatic realization that young people actually, irrespective of the fact that they're more immune to this virus, that's actually a very secondary issue. But they need each other to grow, which is a really important statistic. And I'm sure you're seeing that with your kids having been at home and the antics that they get up to at home, haven't you?
Naval, let me share what is happening in India. India being such a large population and so many students, there are millions and billions of students. At least 300 million students are there in India who need to go to school and colleges. I don't know for sure this number, but I'm just taking a guess. Now, everybody is under lockdown and they are actually doing their studies digitally. The problem is, in fact, all of us, myself included as a parent, we objected to the school uh, 2 weeks back that this is actually creating a bad situation mentally for the students. So, they can't be there in front of PC from 8:30 till 4 p.m. and with 15 minutes break in between. So finally, from this week, the schools have modified their schedules and they are saying 8:30 to 12:30. However, what about the physical activities? What about knowing their comrades? What about best friends, a circle of friends? So, how they talk to each other about something which is not related to studies. They want to discuss about Star Wars, how they do that. They have seen some TV serial, how they talk about it. So I think these are big, big challenges which at least in India as a society we are facing big time, and I'm sure this is going to create a big psychological problem for the young students.
Well, definitely, and not least anything else. It's not just their education has been disrupted; it's their lives have been disrupted. So it's the focus that they've had while they've been at school. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that the schooling system in India has said, well, rather than 8:30 to 3:30 or 4 o'clock, whatever it was, with a 15-minute break, we're now going to condense it into 4 hours in the morning. Because what's the reality of this? Let's look at a typical child, okay, and a typical day at school. We can all think about our daughters, our sons, or even our grandchildren. When we take them to school, what physically happens? Well, you're there early. You're not going to get your child there late, are you? I mean, that's for secondary school kids that go on their own. But when you're taking your 5, 6 year old child to school, you're there early. So they go in when the bell rings or whatever it is, the signal for everyone to come into the school. And then you say that your goodbyes, give them a kiss on the cheek and off they go. Go and have fun, enjoy yourself. That's your parting message. Well, it should be your parting message. If it's not, you need to change what your parting message is, okay? So you should be saying, go and enjoy yourself. Go and have fun, okay? Get the mindset working on this. Education is fun, not a chore, not like something like the washing up, or cleaning your bedroom. They're chores. Education is fun. So now you've left your child, and you've left your child in the hands of a dedicated professional, someone who's dedicated their life to teaching children just like yours. So what happens? They go into the classroom, they have a little chat with their mates that they may not have seen overnight, and what was on the TV. So there's a little chatter that's going on, and that's perfectly acceptable because that's real life. It's what you do when you go into the office. You say, "Oh, what did you do yesterday?" "God, did you get stuck in that traffic jam?" That's real life. So these kids have got a real life too. And then the teacher starts to bring everybody in to attention in many respects. Now the formal day starts. And when that formal day starts, throughout your career, you've got about 1 million minutes in school. So that's, say, 7 hours a day, for which there's an hour lunch break and little breaks for intervals during the day. So that makes about 6 hours a day. 5 days a week for most people, and approximately 40 weeks a year for about 14 years. And if you do the sums, multiplication, it's not difficult, works out at about 1 million minutes, just a little over 1 million minutes. Sounds like an earthly long time, doesn't it? But how much of that time is productive? How much of that time in that school arena is your daughter being productive?
Well, if we talk about the usual school, then I'm sure it would be somewhere maybe half or maybe 70% of the school time, which is productive, and 20% time is also productive, I would say, because the children are still learning how to make friends, how to break friendship. I think these are all becoming worldly wise other than study. So that is also important. So when I say 75% of the time is utilized for studies, but the other 25 is not wasted. They are becoming worldly wise. They are becoming clever. They are becoming more savvy how to treat others, what to say. Those are the skills they will learn at school while interacting with their comrades. They will not learn while interacting with parents. So I think I would say 1 million minutes, as you said very nicely, Neville. I think all of it is useful for students in school.
And you see me smiling when you're saying about, I'm now thinking about this, It's not 100% productive on education and passing exams. There is this social connectivity, which is why schools are now staying open, despite the fact we've got some tight restrictions during COVID, because it's that connectivity that's really important. Now, in the big world, in our business world, we would call that networking. How we network with each other, how we develop our personal skills, our negotiation skills, I've got an apple in my lunchbox, you've got a banana. How about I trade an apple for a banana? And the other child will say, well, actually, yeah, that's okay, but you've got a chocolate biscuit. So if you give me a chocolate biscuit and an apple, you can have my banana. Those are the skills, frankly. And I can remember doing that sort of stuff. This is quite sad, really, but I can remember doing that sort of stuff. And kids do that automatically. They don't realize what they're doing. But it's preferences, it's building preferences, it's negotiation skills, it's communication skills, it's marketing skills. It's sort of saying, yeah, that's okay, but you've got a chocolate biscuit in there, and I'd much rather have those two than just your apple. I mean, just imagine that conversation going on around the world. We wouldn't have a leadership problem, would we, frankly? Because we'd have the best business networking people in the world. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen all the time, but you've hit the nail on the head. Is it 20%, 25%, 30%? It's somewhere around there. It's approximately a third of the time we're in school where we're networking. And a really good teacher will be encouraging that type of networking, at the same time making sure it doesn't get out of hand. So there probably is a band of where acceptability, so below here we're not having, in between here that's okay, up here I'd prefer to be. So up here is the real learning area. This is where the teacher's got attention on the specific subject. In here is a bit of negotiation, and down here is unacceptable. And of course, in some of the schools where you see a high level of disruption, we're in the lower tier. So unfortunately, the say 30% of acceptable discussion is now closer to 50, maybe 60, or pushing 80. And at that point, that's when learning stops. And that's the problem. So I think the message we got today is there is this collegiate arena where your children, your grandchildren need to be communicating and collaborating with other young people. And even in the digital world, they could be very disruptive. And it's up to our parents now, because they're at home learning, to clamp down on that disruption. What do you think?
So, Neville, from this discussion, what I want to tell the ed tech companies, the people who are making so much noise about ed tech today, because the ed tech itself is pushing the boundaries and making fintech as if it is as a thing of the past. So, I want to appeal to ed tech companies that I think the time is absolutely right. I don't think our children can study in a scenario where they just see the photo of the teacher and just keep listening to her or him. I think the time is right to create an application in the digital world to replicate 1:1 experience of a school, so that you create a breakout sessions, you give a student ability to make their own circle of friends and so on. I think there is a requirement, because none of these school systems are offering that kind of functionality. But I think especially a country like India needs it, because we have so many young students, and the competition is very, very high in this country. The students started going to school really at 2.5 years of age, because if you have not done your play school, the next school will not take you as a child, because they will say, hey, you have not done play school, I will not take you in Montessori, for example. I'm just quoting an example. So when very young, when you're a toddler, because there is a competition, parents tend to put their children at the age of 18 months to a play school, because you need a certificate to get to the next level. So I think with so much competition, and suddenly there is a break on that. So where is the art of, how the Indian students will compete? How they will learn this art of competition? How they will say that, okay, fine, I've got these 10 best, brightest students as my friends. Where is the pride in saying that? Because in the digital world, that experience is not visible right now while working from home or studying from home.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the interesting thing is the technology is available. I mean, I know I run many Zoom conferences. I'm on panels, I'm in breakout rooms, and there is all this facility. You can have a breakout room. So even though you're in, you know, you could be in a Zoom conference where there are thousands of people, because I've been in those as well, and on a panel in those. But you create breakout rooms. You could have 50, 60 breakout rooms, and you allow people to choose to go into those breakout rooms or not, as the case may be. And then you just monitor what's going in the breakout rooms. So there is a way to do it. And the interesting thing is, we need to remember, if it's not COVID, it will be something else. So this is probably a way of the future. Those schools that are getting really good at the digital arena and are now commingling their learning, if you like, there will, I think the model in the future will be a little online, a little at school, and a little networking. So back to this 30%, I think there will be a larger arena of where this 30% needs to be part of the curriculum. It already is part of the curriculum because kids are in school. But we've noticed how much is missing from the curriculum when they're digitally being taught. So we've got a massive opportunity going forward, and all these EdTech groups out there, get after it, because the first one will get the spoils. So let's see who's going to be the early mover.
Certainly, Naval, and I think that we had a very nice discussion, but the solution is not in our hand. But I think we have identified the problem areas today in the discussion. I think there is a need for an application which will replicate the physical world into digital world, specifically regarding schools. So with this message, let us end our discussion today. We will catch up again tomorrow then.
Good to see you, CK. Have fun, everybody.
Bye bye.